I've been in the coaching space for more than 7 years now. And within this profession, I have to talk to a lot of different people. And you have no idea how easy it actually is to get ahead of most people. Because most people do not take action. And the ones that do take action, a big portion of them, they are focusing on the wrong things. Because the people that make the fastest progress in life are usually not the ones that do the most amount of work. They are usually the ones that focus on the work that actually matters, on the actions that give them the biggest return on investment. I recently had a session with a client of mine, and he was coming into the session with all of these ideas. He was working on his brand. He was creating all this content. He was creating the website. He was focusing on the color palette for his branding and his website. He was also focusing on his mission and vision statement and all this kind of stuff. And eventually I asked him the question, what is the actual goal that you're after? And that's when he shared with me that he wanted to launch his group coaching program. And that's when I challenged him, because he was creating all these conditions for him to finally launch this program. But I wanted to jump immediately to the end result. So I asked him, do you have software to give these group sessions on? And his answer was yes. Do you know 3 to 5 people? Because he wanted to have very small groups. Do you know 3 to 5 people that you would love to have in this program? And his answer was yes. And this is when something clicked in his mind, because he knew where I was going with this. And he committed in that moment to calling these 5 individuals, to invite them in this free trial of his program, to get experience, to get testimonials, to get referrals, to finally launch his group coaching program. And he realized how many conditions he was creating in his mind before he could finally do something. And eventually the actions that he ended up with only took him a day. And he was creating way more progress than focusing on the color palettes and the mission and vision statement and all this stuff. And you have to be mindful how your brain and your mind is playing tricks on you. Because when you're in a transition period of your life, and I'm currently coaching a lot of people that are transitioning from their 9 to 5 to going full-time with a business. And it's a very uncertain period. It's a very uncertain transition that you're going into. And this is when your mind wants to hold on to everything that's easy, that's comfortable, that's fun, that's certain. And these are usually not the actions that are giving you the results that you want. It's usually the actions that are uncomfortable, uncertain, that you have no idea what you're doing, that are difficult. These actions are usually the ones that give you the most amount of results. So you have to, of course, know what is the actual goal that you're after, but what are the most important actions that you could be taking that would influence the progression towards this goal? Because there are an infinite number of things that you could be doing, but you're not supposed to be doing everything. There are only, and this is your job, to find the handful of things that you need to consistently do to create this result and to create this progress. Because you have to be able to call yourself out on your own bullshit, that you're focusing on, let's say, the wrong things. And if you can't do this yourself, you need to find a community, a mentor, a coach, a friend that can call you out on this. Because your mind can get so creative on the arguments for why this action is important, why the color on your website is so important, and that you should spend hours on this. Because when someone comes to your website and you have the right colors, they will feel so inspired and they will have such a beautiful experience that will increase the likelihood of them filling out the application form on your website, and they will get in touch with you. And this is the reasoning why we focus so much on unimportant tasks. And you can hear how stupid this sounds. And this is what you have to realize when looking at your own life and your own goals that you're working towards. Are you actually working on the things that matter? Because this is the difference between people that stay stuck, that are just busy doing the wrong things, and the people that get ahead way faster because they focus on the work that actually matters. And what is related to this is also your speed of decision. How fast are you making decisions when you know what you want, when you know the next step? I had a client a year ago, and this was extremely inspiring to me. I had a session with him, and he had an insight on the changes that he wanted to create within his business. And for this, he had to reach out to certain individuals. So when he received that insight, he paused the session, grabbed his phone and started sending the messages, started sending the voice messages. And when he was done, we continued the session. And he had no idea how inspiring this was to me. Because in that moment, I realized there are levels when it comes to speed of implementation. And I know an individual that will make and create fast results in life based on their ability to take immediate action. Because it requires a lot of courage to do something immediately, as fast as possible, because you're doing it without all the clarity, without the certainty, without knowing what is going to happen. You're usually taking imperfect action and you are creating as you go. And this requires a lot of courage, because most people are operating in life to keep themselves safe, because they want to take the perfect action. They want to do everything right. They want to make sure that when they take an action, they will get a certain result. So it's usually fear that puts people in a place of hesitation. And they start analyzing all the things that could go wrong. And based on this analyzing, they paralyze themselves. The fear paralyzes them. And the interesting thing is, you try to, with all this analyzing and this hesitation, you try to avoid failure. You try to avoid embarrassment, mistakes, rejections. But these are actually the things that are going to give you the results that you want. I had a session with my own coach some time ago, and he was sharing with me, you haven't made enough mistakes yet. You haven't embarrassed yourself enough yet. You haven't been rejected enough yet to get the results that you want. These are the things that you have to go through. This is a requirement to get the result that you want. And instead of moving away from it, instead of trying to avoid it because it might hurt your feelings, you want to move towards it. You want to move through it. This is how you pay your dues. This is the payment that you have to make and the thing that you have to go through to get into the club, to get the goal. So speed of implementation is crucial to get ahead of most people, because I talk to a lot of people that have been waiting for years to do something. And this is related to the topic of urgency as well. There are so many people that have waited for years to start their own business, to take action upon that dream. And when I talk to these individuals, what I often see is this loss of hope. They don't feel it's possible anymore because they've been procrastinating so long. This fire is slowly dying. And you see that a part of them is slowly dying by them hesitating, by them procrastinating and pushing this dream towards the future. And this is what happens when you procrastinate. And this is a scary thought. And this is something that you have to connect with as well when you want to internally raise this sense of urgency. Because how do you get ahead faster? Why do certain people make more progress than others? Because certain people, certain individuals experience more urgency from within. That's why they take faster action as well. This urgency can be created in many different ways. You can create this internally and you can create this externally. And I believe creating this internally is one of the most powerful things that you can do. The way you cultivate this sense of urgency is by your identity and by your internal standard. Because you live always in alignment with your identity and with your internal standard. The results that you have in life and the results that you don't have in life is a reflection, a direct reflection of the internal standard that you have. Because your internal standard is what you accept and what you don't accept. So where in your life are you currently accepting mediocrity? And this is very harsh to connect with, because we've been accepting so many things in life. The way that people treat us. Let's say the meaningless conversations that you have with your friends, the alcohol and drugs that you're consuming, all this procrastinating. Where have you been accepting mediocrity? And increasing this internal standard will increase your urgency. You know when you've raised the standard internally, when you feel uncomfortable in situations where you usually felt comfortable. So when you have, let's say, when you're going out with your friends and you're drinking a lot of alcohol, when you raise your standard and you know that your dream is more important than getting drunk, when you are going out in that moment, you will feel uncomfortable because you know you're supposed to be being and creating something else than just drinking alcohol and having these meaningless conversations. This is how you know that you raise the internal standard. And one great way that I often use to raise my internal standard is creating a hell vision. Is looking at the actions that I'm not taking or looking at the bad actions that I'm taking and asking myself, where do I end up a year from now, 5 years from now, if I continue taking this action? So if you're not working out and you're not taking care of your health and you're eating like shit, where do you end up 1 year from now? Where do you end up 5 years from now? What do you look like if you're fat and obese and people are disgusted by you? No one wants to date you. How does that feel? How does it feel if you've been procrastinating on your dream, on the business that you want to start, and 5 years from now, this opportunity is ripped away from you and you're not able to pursue this dream anymore? What does that feel like? How do you view yourself? And this is important to connect with, because if you connect to the pain of this future that you're choosing, that's when you start making a change. Often people need to experience more pain to be able to create a change in life. Sadly, it works that way, but you don't have to wait until the pain is there. You can create the pain internally by envisioning the future that you're choosing with your lack of action or with the wrong actions that you're taking. So this is how you, for example, raise your internal standard. Another way of course, increasing urgency is playing with your identity, because we're all walking around with an identity that's usually been given to us by our parents, by society, by our friends. We haven't intentionally sculpted this identity. Now, what you can do, for example, is take on different perceptions and take on different identities. So let's imagine that you are a man of immediate action, of relentless execution. If you would embody an identity like that, what does that feel like? What do you start creating? How do you take action differently? How do you see the world differently if this is what you're embodying? If you look at your nutrition and your workouts, what if you would approach this like a world-class athlete? Not saying that you have to go to the Olympics, but if you would approach it with that essence, what do you see differently? What do you create? From this perspective, your nutrition or your workouts become way more important, because you're usually analyzing life from, let's say, a past version of you. And that's why you're living in a box of limitation and a prison. Because you're analyzing life and looking at life through a limited version of you. But you are able to tap into a completely different identity and what that would feel like and take action from that place. Because I believe the world is not created from the outside in, but from the inside out. You become something first and the reality catches up on you. It's not that you get a result and then you become that person. So this is how you can cultivate urgency through your internal standard and through your identity. And if you want to create external necessity and urgency, you can cultivate this, for example, by deadlines. So people usually take infinite amount of time to get something done or to make a decision. But if you squeeze that in a limited amount of time, you feel the pressure rising in a positive way, because this gets you into motion. A different way of creating urgency is also accountability. When you have people around you that push you and that challenge you. If you have a workout buddy, I can guarantee you that the likelihood of you staying consistent is way higher than you doing it by yourself, if you're not motivated by yourself to go consistently to the gym. Because now you have this accountability that is pushing you to go to the gym consistently. So this is also how you can externally cultivate an environment that creates this necessity and urgency inside of you. So we have of course, the first one, prioritization, focusing on the things that actually matter. We have the speed of implementation, the speed in which you make decisions, and we have creating this sense of urgency to get ahead of most people. So these are the things that you want to be doing, but there are also a lot of things that you want to remove if you want to get ahead of most people. I think this person shared this beautifully with me, because I had a session with this person. He's not a client of mine, but this was a session that I had with him, and he had everything clear what he wanted to be doing around building and launching his course. So all the steps were clear. He was motivated, he was disciplined, he was excited, and all he had to do was do the work. of the plan that he created for himself. 2 weeks after, I had a conversation with him and he created zero progress. And he shared with me that he saw this guy online, he was listening to this podcast, and they were sharing that when you launch your course, you need to do this, 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 this. So he took on these perspectives. But then he saw this video on YouTube where someone shared the complete opposite. And these were also different than the plan that he created for himself. And now he was in a place where he didn't know what to do anymore. He didn't know what the right decision was or the right path that he had to take. So he was stuck and didn't do anything. And this is what happens when you start consuming too much information and when you start listening too much to the outside world. I remember that when I started to read so much and listen to all these podcasts, that it just disconnected me from my truth. And there was a time that I completely stopped consuming. For 2 years straight, I didn't read any book anymore. I stopped listening to podcasts. And this is when I was able to connect with my truth again and ground myself. And this is also when I made the most amount of progress, because other people and other perspectives can create doubt inside of you. When let's say the waters are still, you are very grounded in your truth. But when you start consuming too much, then the waters start to move chaotically and the ship that's sailing starts to be pushed into a direction that you do not want to go into. And maybe it even capsizes and then you're completely stuck. And that's why consuming too much information is dangerous. And another reason why it's so dangerous and why you want to limit your consumption is because there are so many truths out there. When you look at your goal, there are 100 ways in which you can achieve this. And they all work. There's a reason why there are so many different paths, because they all work. But they only work if you make them work. And when you start listening online to people, they try to sell you on their method, on why their method is superior to others. Because there's usually a program that they're selling attached to this as well. And you have to realize that all of it works, and that what's most important is that you have to choose. You have to commit to your own unique path. When you start consuming too much, you start to compare your unique journey with someone else's that is completely different. And that's when you start doubting yourself and you think that something is missing in life. And this is why you anxiously consume so much, because you think something is missing. And you think that a guru online or a person online has a piece of information that you don't have, and you're trying to anxiously find this. This is often the reason why people consume so much. They're looking for that magic thing without them even realizing that they're looking for this. And what they don't realize is that all this consuming is creating more doubt and hesitation within them. So limit the information that you consume. You want to be very intentional about the things that you consume. Only when you want to learn a different skill or when you want to create some and tap into some new inspiration. Be very intentional. And personally, I would recommend to just completely stop consuming at all when you've grounded yourself in what you want to be creating. And that's where also the last thing that I want to share with you comes into play is you want to say a lot of no. And of course, there are periods in your life where it's very important to say a lot of yes, to say a lot of yes to opportunities and to explore all these different possibilities that are out there. But when you know your goal, when you know the path that you want to commit to, you want to say a completely full yes to this path and no to everything else. This is how you solve most problems in life, by full commitments. Most problems can be solved by simply taking action. And by taking confident action with conviction. So when you know your path and you make this commitment, you know what you want to say yes to, then it becomes easy what you want to say no to. And that's the power. That's why I believe a full-on commitment, when you go all in on something, it creates peace of mind, because you know exactly these are the things that are in alignment. This is all the things that I'm going to say yes to, and the rest is a no. I'm not going to hang out with my friends anymore on the weekends. I'm not going to be drinking alcohol. I'm not going to be playing video games. I'm not going to be jumping from project to project, trying to make some money, because this is the long-term investment that I'm going to be making. This is the goal that I'm going to be committing myself to in the long term. which filters out all the other options. And this creates also peace of mind for yourself. And don't listen to this as in, oh yeah, I know this. I know this is important. Because what most people also do when it comes to consuming personal development content is they try to find some new information. They try to intellectually understand certain situations. But when it comes to getting ahead of people, it's usually not about intellectual understanding, it's about experiential understanding and knowing. The people that get ahead faster, they know exactly what they want to say yes to, they know exactly what they want to say no to. And they get into motion. They experience what's working and what's not working. And this is what you want to base your decisions on as well. You don't want to let others influence your direction and your path too much. You want to get out there, get in motion, because motion breeds clarity. And once you have this clarity, that's when you gather some data and you see what's working and not working. And based on this experience that you have, and based on this real life data, you make adjustments that are in alignment with you. And that's the most important part. This is how you get ahead of most people. It's the prioritization, it's the speed of implementation, it's the urgency that you experience from within. It's the removing all the consuming and all the listening to all the different perspectives. Removing all of that and grounding yourself in your truth and your path that you're going to be committing to. And knowing what you say yes to and say no to all the other things. And really explore what this looks like in your life. Where do you want to say no to more often? What do you want to fully commit to? Similar to the question, where are you accepting mediocrity in your life? Because there is a different level waiting for you. And oftentimes, all that's necessary is a strong commitment and a strong decision for you to be living into this. And if you want to work through these topics together with like-minded individuals, I've created a men's group that is focusing specifically on these things. A lot of men in the group, I think most men are making the transition from their current 9-to-5 into going full-time with their business. And within this uncertain transition, you need to have someone that calls you out when you're going off in the complete wrong direction. You need people around you that align yourself. You need people around you that inspire you to maybe even do more than you thought you were capable of. Like the energy you experience when you start creating within a community with like-minded individuals, it will carry through your whole day, through your whole week, and you will start seeing things differently. You will start creating things differently from this higher place of confidence. This is also how do you raise your internal standard? By surrounding yourself with individuals that have an extremely high standard in life. So if you want to try out this community for free, because I believe alignment is crucial. So I always give the opportunity for people to try out this community for free. Fill out the application form in the description below. We will simply hop on a call to see if things align for you. You can try it out, and if you want to join, you can join. So I hope this video was helpful in some kind of way. I'm back into the car, I can see, just trying out something different, and I'll see you in the next video.